Some
Sure.
good advice for a vendor on how to give a pitch to a CISO.
Um, okay, good advice. Know and or learn your CISO's environment and don't just pitch white label. Like really
I
know
got it.
how your product's going to work.
Tailor it. All right. Lee, do me a favor. Give me some bad advice on how to deal with a vendor pitch.
Yeah, so after you learn about your customer's environment, talk really bad about their current provider.
Oh, that is some good bad advice. Hadash, one up, Lee. Give me some
Yeah,
worse advice.
sure. Sure. On during the pitch, if you have like an hour, spend 45 minutes to 50 minutes talking just about the history of your company.
Oh, actually, I don't know which one would be more damaging, though. That's a good question. Question for the audience. Which one's more damaging, Lee's advice or Hadash's? I want to hear from you. But let's begin.
Get ready. It's Super Cyber Friday.
Welcome, everybody. Today's topic is hacking security vendor pitches, an hour of thinking how vendors communicate their value to buyers. It's going to be fun. I'm guessing a lot of you are working with vendors, but I'm interested to know how many non-vendors, how many practitioners have come to today's event. So I would love to hear from you as well. The people who we had on here is Hadassah Kasorlik. She's the CISO over at Assured Partners, and we also have Lee Parrish, who's the CISO over at Newell Brands. No sponsor. That's why every now and then we don't have a sponsor for one of our events. And we always try to come up with a topic. We know no sponsor would ever sponsor. And this is one of them. That's why we're doing this topic today. All right. 6 different ways to participate. Let me just, the ones for those you've been here before. By the way, pipe up if this is the very first time you've ever joined to a Super Cyber Friday. I'd love to hear first timers here. All right. How not to pitch a CISO. That is your bad idea. I am sure you're going to come up with a lot of good bad tips. They have them. But we do want your 10% tips on how to improve a vendor pitch. Doesn't have to be everything, just one little thing. First time for Sergio. That's great. Great to see you here, Sergio. All right. You can join us on video if you got any tips or advice. A great experience with a pitch. We would love to hear it. Just say, bring me on. We'll try to bring you on video to ask a question, make a comment, tell your story. And also ask questions. Just click the little question mark in the little in the corner where all the icons are. Go there and ask your question, and also vote for your favorite question as well. Today's schedule: we're going to play good advice, bad advice, worst advice. We have our bad ideas, our good ideas. We will play the public interest. We have a slightly longer version today. We will also play CISO bracketology. We have Star Wars versus Star Trek. Then we'll play the Department of Yes, last question advice, and we will do our meetup. If you've never come to our meetup before, I want to see you there. Please come to our meetup. And do me a favor, when we do the meetup, don't all glom into one giant club. Break up into a bunch of smaller groups. More fun. More people get a chance to talk that way. And it's good. And then you bounce them out around a little bit. Lastly, let me just mention that we have a link at the bottom of the screen for our next week's show, which is Hacking Customer Trust, an hour of critical thinking, how to move beyond questionnaires and demonstrate trust in real time. You can click on that link at any time during this, and it will not in any way take you out of this chat. It will just open another window so you can register for the other chat and be in that. I will mention that multiple times. Please register for that as well. All right. Hadass and Lee, you have heard a few pitches, correct?
Oh, yeah.
In my life, yeah. Just a few.
All right. Can you let's just talk general. We're going to start, 30,000 feet and come down. In general, what makes a pitch work and what makes a pitch not work? Just in a very general sense. We're going to get into the details later. Hadass, your thoughts?
What makes it work is to start off is really knowing the environment. I mean, I know that was my
right. You can say
good
it again.
idea anyway, but like I need to make sure that you are a partner, not just a vendor. And so I want to make sure that you understand the problems, that you understand the difficulty in implementation, that you understand that you can help me make decisions about if I'm going to need headcount to add, things like that. Like I want you to really understand my team, my environment, and what the lift for the tool is going to be.
All right. That's a good tip. And I've heard that one before. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And first, let me say before we even get into any of this is that, we love our supplier partners and we give feedback like this because we care. So I just wanted to preface everything by that. I would say
I,
timing is everything. So the first thing that makes a good vendor pitch is to actually have an invitation to pitch the idea. So many times people will reach out at very inopportune times and try to engage you. And we're all busy and we're all in the middle of our day and operational. We're in the zone. It's very much like if I'm working on a home project or something at home on the weekend and I realize I have 2 bolts that I'm short. I need 2 more bolts. So I go down to the home improvement store and I'm focused. I know what I'm there for. And I go in and there's a table and people are asking me if I want to have my kitchen remodeled. And here are all the things that you can do with your kitchen and things. Well, it's probably a good service and probably a good product, but I'm not there for that. I'm there for those 2 bolts and that's all I need. And those tables never work with the exception of maybe the Girl Scout cookie one outside. But other than that, they don't work. So have an invitation, have some dedicated time to speak with the CISO, I think is the first thing.
and I think on top of that, also know who's in the room. If I have my security engineers in the room, then you should have security engineers in the room as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should be talking to the people in the room and not just have your sales associate in the room talking. Like at that, you need to respect our time because we've given it to you and we want to hear that information. So make sure that you understand who you're talking to and at what level you should be speaking.
I can't stress that one enough. And this goes back to time before I was involved in security at all, but I would be in tech, someone would be pitching some technical product and they only brought the salespeople whose knowledge was about an inch deep. And I don't know how many times you've had this situation where you ask a question, you have all these questions and they can't, and they did those, I don't know this, but I'll get back to you. I can't tell you the number of times that's been said. I have never been gotten back to, ever. I mean, I don't know how it works with you, but have you been in those meetings where the knowledge is about an inch deep and you ask a bunch of questions, say, I'll get back to you, and then nothing happens?
I mean, yeah, for sure. But I don't get in those meetings anymore. As soon as I see that that's happening, if it happens, as soon as I see that's happening, I stop the meeting and I let them know that they need to go back to the drawing table and be prepared for the meeting that we should be having. I think I'm known for this a little bit, but I am nothing if I'm not honest. And I'm
you
never
have actually
cruel.
speak of that. You put a letter out to people that you're going to have a meeting with. Speak to that. I was just about to get to that. Go ahead. Explain.
Yeah, I created a letter to my vendors to say, hey, we're very excited to have you in here, but these are our requirements when you walk in the door. Don't waste my time with a 10-minute presentation on how your founder came up with the company. We already know we like you. That's why you're in the room. Like, make sure you have people who can go deeper. If you do take something back to answer, respond to that. And I want an answer. So we're very clear. I'm very clear with my vendors because I don't think they want to waste time either. They want to get to the sale. And the way to get to the sale is to get to the heart of the matter.
Yeah. So let's jump to, because I mean, we can speak of bad mistakes all day. Speak to really good experiences you've had with pitches. Like, think about a pitch that you've both been given. You're like, wow, that was phenomenal. What were the elements that caused that, Lee?
Yeah, I think the big thing is already mentioned is have the right people in the room. So if you have their technical expertise in the room with your security engineers and the technical brains of the security organization, talking and challenging one another and asking questions, those are very productive meetings. The ones that are kind of glossy and they every other word is AI and things like that, it doesn't help. I mean, so yeah, having the right people in the room is paramount.
Yeah, I really like what Lee just said about the back and forth. To me, that's what makes a great presentation. If we're actually having a conversation and not a presentation, then you know you're being successful. And then it's collaborative. And that will even if it's not 100% the perfect product, and no product is, right? No product is a silver bullet. That is more likely to get my attention because it means that you have a collaborative group that can work with us to meet our needs, even if you can't meet them 100% out the door.
Very good point. All right, no questions. What's wrong with this crowd? Get some questions in. Thanks a lot. So I'll go to my own questions. But let's think about like hooks in terms of let's sort of now start dissecting the pitch a little bit. Let's go as linear as we possibly can. Talking about the initial outreach, I always feel too much too soon is not a good idea. And I've gotten that a lot where the very first introduction is, Hadass, hi, my name is David. And then I just blurt out everything about me rather than, Hadass, my name is David. And you are, or, I start, my name is, I don't know your name yet, but my name is David and you are. Like, I actually try to make a connection first. Do you appreciate that? Or you're like, I know what you're getting at, just cut to the chase. Like, what is appreciated, not appreciated?
I mean, I think we have to be humans with each other and we have to make a level of connection, but I don't need to talk about our favorite sports teams and where we grew up and, your whole history, from birth through college. But I think it is nice to touch base and recognize that we're just humans in a room doing our jobs and getting connected to some level.
And let me quote what Tim just wrote here for his 10% better. Read the room. Make sure the audience is engaged, and if not, ask some questions. I've had people pitch way over my head, and I stop them, and I go, like, who do you think you're talking to? I'm not an engineer here. So yeah, reading the room is critical. Lee, what about that first outreach? What do you appreciate? What don't you appreciate?
I really like the relationship aspects of it. That's the ball game right there. I mean, you're not buying a software. You're entering into a relationship with a supplier partner, and I use those words very carefully. They are a partner. You have vendors, you have supplier partners, and you have some vendors that extend to be the relationship is more of an extension of your team. It's a huge relationship thing. I've had over my career, thousands of different people I've worked with in sales and things like that, but only about 3 of them have evolved the relationship to one that teeters on, an account manager and a supportive friend. I mean, they're like really close to both sides of that. So the relationship aspect is huge. I saw a thing come in about buzzwords. A question come in about buzzwords. What are some of the buzzwords? Which
ones drive you crazy?
Yeah. So purpose built, single pane of glass, anything.
AI.
Yeah, AI. It used to be cloud, but that's kind of, went down a little bit.
Lift and shift.
Lift and shift. That's a great one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna happen, but yeah, that was, I'm sorry, I'll just show this was Owanati Bestman was asking this question.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, right there. But here, let me get to this next one that Tim Pine just threw in, and which I think this is a really good question here. How do you approach a CISO with a product offering that they are not aware of? I'm going to say, or think they're not aware of, don't assume, or new to the market. And the reason I think this is a really interesting question is, if it's new to the market, there's no line item for it, or traditional line item, if you will. So, and also there isn't this, like, you don't want the scare tactic. Like, a lot of times, they'll pull analyst numbers like, do you know that this, X% of this and this happens and this happens, the idea of trying to scare the crap out of you, you're trying to use FUD here. But what would be a good approach to you saying, like, hey, do you know about this space right here? And we're kind of playing in this space and we've got a kind of new solution in that. What is the approach that's good for you, Hadass, on that?
So it's twofold. One is start with what the problem is that I'm trying to solve, because that's not new. So even though the offering might be new, the problem shouldn't be new. It should be an actual problem that I'm having. The second thing is, and I know that this is the hardest part of being a vendor who's offering new product, is I need a warm handshake. It's going to be really hard to get my attention with just picking up a phone and cold calling me or sending me an email. And so I know this sucks as a new vendor in a space, but you have to spend some time and money getting in front of people so that going to RSA, going to vendor conferences, things like that, so that people see you and then feel more comfortable introducing you to other people. Go through VARs, whatever it is. But I just feel like just picking up a phone and calling me is frustrating. And I prefer the warm handshake. But also, if you start with the problem you're solving instead of just we're a new space we're building, then that's going to be more helpful.
By the way, I just wanted to let everybody know we were seeing this weird thing happening with it. It seems that there's only very few people on, but we actually do have a lot of people on this call right now. It's just there's something very bizarre with the way the numbers are presenting themselves down there. So just so you know that we're actually 3 to 4 times what it says right there, because we're actually seeing numbers in a different way. It's just not presenting itself right. Lee, same question to you with regard to new technology, new space. What is the right approach to bring that to you so it doesn't come off as FUD?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's, during the day, it's very hard to do a cold call or something like that. It's not going to work, at least not for me. I mean, it probably does work, or else people wouldn't do it. But like just today, I was looking before we went live. So far, just this morning for 5 hours, I started at 7 a.m. and up until we went live here on the East Coast. So it's 55 reach outs.
You've had 55 just this
55,
morning?
Just this morning. For a combination of cold calls, LinkedIn connections, phone calls. The average is about 11 per hour. So it's really tough. So the best way for me is to get me out of the office. So, at an industry dinner or at a conference or something like that. And I do a little bit myself too. So whenever I go to conferences like RSA or whatever, I go on the expo floor and I go to the edges. And on the edges is where all the new companies are and new capabilities. And I dive into what they're doing. And I've met a lot of companies who are now, if I mention their names, they're huge security companies. They started off with a card table and a sheet over it and just, giving away a t-shirt.
100%.
So the other thing too.
By the way, just so you know, Lee, that I've heard like from everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone loved, and it's the thing. If I were a big company, I'd purposely buy an edge booth because that's where it's amazing how clogged those edges are as compared to the huge booths in the center.
And you know what? You're funny because you said that, and I think companies are picking up on that because they'll have that big booth. Big, huge cybersecurity companies will have that big booth, and they'll also have a little tiny one on the edge.
Yes, I've noticed they've had a satellite. We'll have both.
Yeah. So the other thing I would mention is that as CISOs, we're pretty tied into a lot of angel investors and venture capitalists and things like that in the security realm, and they'll reach out and they'll say, "Hey, look, we're working with these people who have a really good idea." So they'll kind of seed it a little bit in conversations that we have with them.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I also really love what you said about getting you out of the office and like vendor dinners. Sponsor some of those because they're more intimate. You can really learn about the issues that CISOs are facing from being at those dinners and really understand how to address those problems. I think that's an excellent way of doing that.
I will mention that. I also host a event here in San Diego where we have a meetup just of local San Diego professionals. I am a huge fan of sponsoring local events, local nonprofits like B-Sides. They are not expensive to sponsor at all, and it's a great chance to connect with the community. And what's great about those events is the people come back month after month or whatever, so they start to know each other. So it's not a cold group together, as opposed to RSA, a lot of people often will know each other in an event, but if you're getting the same group that comes month after month, you're getting kind of a group that is warm together. And that's a really good thing to have, is to have a warm group together.
I also think that one of the reasons it's a really good idea is because as CISOs, we are there and we're specifically there with the mindset of learning about vendors, seeing vendors. But if you're giving me an email while I'm in the middle of work or calling my cell phone, by the way, in the middle of the day, that's jarring to me. And it actually puts a bad taste in my mouth. But if you're in a place where I'm actually physically going out and seeking what's new in the industry and what problems are being solved and how, that's more interesting to me.
Hey, David, didn't you say something about Alan one time set up time?
Yes.
I forget. Yeah.
Yeah, Libby, I was just about to bring up what Alan did.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, Alan Alford, who was actually the original co-host of Defense in Depth, he's done actually a few different things. One is he puts up this vendor post, which talks about how he wants vendors to engage with him. And I don't know if he's doing it right now, but he used to set aside 1 hour a week. And I thought this was a great idea. And I think it was like 2 to 3, slots. He would say, this is how to send me a pitch. It should be 3 items. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's like, tell me what you're doing, how you're unique, and like what's your take in the market or something like that. I can't remember what the 3 were. But the vendors loved it because they knew the clear way to communicate to him. And he was actually making time to talk to vendors. And Alan said something very different. If we have any CISOs who are listening right now, this I thought was really smart, was he said, the problem is most CISOs get advice from other CISOs as to, I'm looking for a DLP product. What should I look at? The problem is if nobody is venturing out to look at new stuff, it just becomes this massive echo chamber, just pinging around. You need at least one person to go out. Well, you can't rely on one person to learn every vendor out there. So, but he realized that it's like, well, if they're not going out, I got to go out. I mean, part of my job is to learn. But I also stress, I know it's only part of your job. Like, you got a lot of other things that's where I think a massive imbalance is. For the vendors, 100% of their job is to try, not 100%, it's also to make their product. But for the salespeople, 100% of their job is to sell the product, where your job is a small percentage is purchasing products and learning about products too, as well. So I'm interested to know if anyone who is here has actually engaged with Alan before in one of his pitches. I'd be interested to know if anyone was participated in that as well. Oh, I am past due our first game. My apologies. We got jumped into this. We need to jump into our first game here. Here we go.
Do you know what others are thinking? On the public interest.
All right, we got a lot of good stuff coming here, and we got a ton of questions have come in. I want to get through these. All right, Hadass, Lee, you know how this game's played. Audience, you know as well. It's simple: cross-selling or upselling. Which gets more searches?
I'm going to say A, cross-selling.
I'll say B.
B. All right, they're splitting. And by the way, we're doing 6 questions today, everybody. We're going a little bit longer, and it is. Whoops! No, I have to click. It is B, upselling. I will just tell you that in general, hyphenateds don't do nearly as well as single one word. So just so you know.
You couldn't have given that information to me earlier? Okay.
No, I'm not giving that out.
I see what kind of friends we are, David.
By the way, I didn't create this too. Rich created this, so I don't know the answers to these either. I like this. Churn, conversion, or renewal. What do you think?
I answered first last time. You go first this time.
Lee.
Okay, I will go with E, renewal.
I'm going to go with conversion because it's just a search, so it could be for
it can be anything. It has nothing to do with cyber. It's just a search here. Here we go. And the correct answer is conversion. All right, we're tied up now.
1-1.
How many people are looking up churning butter?
Well, here we go. License, subscription, freemium, and service. This is a tough one.
I'm going to go with service.
I feel confident it's not freemium, but I feel freemium is the lowest one of them all. But yeah, I don't know. I could be wrong here. Who knows?
It's service. I go service.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
All right, 2 eyes. Let's see what we got. No, license. Look at that. Look at that.
Huh.
All right. And I was right. Freemium was the lowest. All right. MVP, POC, beta, or pilot. Ooh. Lot that beta and pilot can be a lot of different things there.
What do you got, Lee?
Minimal viable product.
MVP. Oh yeah, MVP can
I
be
was
tons.
kind of thinking about that also because it could be most valuable player also.
It's going to be most valuable. Yeah, it's going to be far more.
yeah.
People are going
I'm
to say
gonna go-
who is the MVP in the X World Series.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go with pilot anyway. I'm gonna say M.
All right, so you're going MVP,
Just to
Lee.
split it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 1-1 here.
Ugh.
Oh, there you go. Pilot. All right, 2-1 Hadass. Here we go. TCO, total cost of ownership, sunk costs, operating expenditures, capex, opex, and capex. This is a good one too.
I'm gonna say OpEx.
Man, I'm between TCO and CapEx. Which one should I do, audience?
I don't know. What do we have any
Let me,
N's or Q's? I think I definitely see. Well,
There's a
no.
lot of Q's.
You know what? I'm
in
seeing the
Yeah.
equal amount of N's and Q's. I'm seeing equal amount of everything here.
okay, I'll be the tiebreaker on them, I guess. I'll do.
A lot of
do-
people
I'll-
have taken sunk costs though too. Here.
Yeah, you know what? In keeping with the expense thing, I'll go with CapEx. It's just-
All right, here we go. CapEx edges is out. Good
Dang.
call. All right, are we 2-2? I think we're 2-2.
2-2.
Is this the last one? This might be the last one.
Uh-oh. No pressure.
Here we go. Or is it the second last one or the last one? Cameron. Circle back, touch base, deep dive, drill down. I like that. Good call, by the way, Rich, who produced this. Good job.
I think it's you to start, Lee.
As I'm looking at this, I thought of another one of those buzzwords is double click. So don't say that one. I would say deep dive, T.
And I would say drill down, you.
All right, we could find a winner here. Deep dive or drill down. What's it going to be? Neither.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I
Was
think
that
there's
our
one
last
more.
one?
Isn't there one more?
No, that was our last one. Touch base.
All right, we
We
tied.
have a tie.
That's
we
all
have
right.
a tie
Good.
on that one. All right, let's get to a couple more questions, and then I want to. Geez, we have tons of questions have come in. Like, have you guys voted? Do me a favor, vote for the question so I know which one to ask first.
Hey,
but
David,
let's-
that one question was about vendors getting pressure on next steps from their boss. What are the next steps? It's from Chris.
Chris, the first one.
Let me see. Where's it at?
We have the first one is from Chris.
I lost it. It's about how
Chris
how would
Moore.
you-
Oh yeah, no, here, Chris Moore. Here, we're often tasked with landing that quote next step from our leadership. What is your advice for us when approaching that challenge? This is great. All right, I throw this out. Lee, you first.
I don't have an answer. I just thought
For
it was
Chris
a good
Moore?
question. Yeah.
Wait, it's a
That-
question.
No,
You're supposed
that-
to
it's-
answer these.
More.
It's a huge challenge. I mean, people want that, what is the quantifiable next step? And maybe this is the reason why, Dave, when you said, I don't know the answer to that, but let me get back to you. Another thing is I hear a lot of, if they don't know the answer, they'll say, well, let's set up another meeting with our technical people. Well, that would be the next step. So that would, so that doesn't work. But anyway, I would say just being realistic with the internal teams of your company to say, hey, look, I'm building a relationship. I think too many times people think that they can start a relationship with a company and then execute on the sale that quarter or maybe the next quarter. If you're working with me, it might be a year before you make a sale with me. So yeah, I would just say be open and honest. I'm building a relationship, and this is where I'm at.
I totally agree with that, and I think that I think a lot of people on both sides of this fence, right, the being sold to and the sales, are very afraid of having that honest conversation. But to me, that's the only way to actually build that relationship and build that relationship of trust. So if you ask me what the next steps are as a salesperson to me, I will let you know, hey, this isn't budgeted. We're not even looking at it. You can come back to me in Q3 when we're thinking about our budgets, and I will consider it for next year if I see it as one of my priorities. But I am happy to have that open and honest conversation. And I think actually as CISOs, we need to be better about being super honest with our vendors about where we are, because they don't want to annoy us any more than we want to be annoyed by them. And if we give them concrete, hey, actually this quarter is bad, or I'm swamped, reach out to me in next quarter, and we can even put it on our calendar right now since your boss needs a next step. I'm totally okay with that. But I feel like there's always this like, I don't know, this like weird cautionary dance between the parties instead of just being honest with each other, which makes everything so much simpler.
By the way, I think we're going to hold off on one of our games just because we got so many questions. There's so much interest in this topic, so I don't want to lose that interest. But here, let's go to Katie Kupferschmidt. Kupferschmidt, I think I got that right.
I'm glad you're going to this question. I was just looking.
How do I tell a prospect that we have technology that has determined they have security gaps without telling them their baby is ugly? Do you have a suggestion for that, an approach? This is a great question. All right, you take this one first.
I'm gonna go back to the same answer I have for the last question, which is stop not telling me my baby is ugly. I know my baby's ugly. And if I don't know my baby's ugly, I need to know my baby's ugly.
Like everyone knows their website has problems. Like, there's nobody that says my website is 100% perfect. There's not a damn thing wrong with it. Like, there's nobody who believes that. Everyone knows they need to fix things. You don't have to be a
jerk about it, but you have to tell me the truth. And the more honest you are with me, the more likely I am to start trusting you as a partner, instead of being like, I don't know, they're doing some weird dance around me. I'm not sure if I can trust them. Like, I'm happy to have actual, real, honest conversations with people, as long as you're not rude, right? I mean, obviously we talk to each other with respect as human beings, but I want that honesty. I want you to tell me.
What's your answer on the baby is ugly? Like, how do you say it without saying your baby's ugly, Lee? This is a good question.
I would approach it like you were approaching your significant other who just bought a new shirt that they love, and you have to tell them that you don't like the shirt. It's you have to be. But
here's the big difference with that analogy is you have a relationship with that person. Like, you can accept that. But if a random stranger walks down the street and goes, that shirt's ugly, Lee, that's a different story.
That is a different story, yeah.
Rich wrote, your baby is alternatively appealing.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a good one.
I know that strategy to me is there's so many other things you could be talking about in relation to the product and the service or what have you. Than focusing on the customer's vulnerabilities or
Can I ask something. you two on a question that involves actually the CISO series and everything? So we have a great community, and we have some people come back again and again. I'm seeing like Jesse Gardner, I'm seeing Dwayne Gran, and who are here. Just the most recent Gary Longstein, who come, and James Sparrenberg, who come time and time again, and they build a relationship with our community. And I'm assuming either in things like this or in your local meetup groups, something like that, you see kind of the same people again and again, sort of building relationship with the community. I think it holds value. Do you see the same value as self? And sort of explain to me what value you see, if you do see it. Either one of you, jump in.
I got a little lost there. Can you ask that question?
So what I'm talking about is vendors who participate in the community, whether it's online like here, I just listed off a bunch of names, some of them not vendors, but they get involved here in like virtual environments or in-person environments like we do our San Diego meetup. Like, do you see those people coming again and again? And like, my feeling is those people, if they build the relationship there in the virtual environment first, it's a much easier approach to you, Lee. Like, hey, I've seen you umpteen times in this. I've seen you on CISO series. Like, does that help? Yes or no? I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth. If it doesn't, you're like, David, you're going down the wrong path. You're wrong.
I mean, for me, the statement is familiarity breeds contempt. I would say it's the other way around. Okay. I'm more familiar with you. I do recognize you. I'm probably more willing to have that conversation, but I don't know that it's the silver bullet here. Like, just because I've seen you online here doesn't mean that I now want you to send me a LinkedIn message about how you want to solve all my problems, because that's still not really a warm handshake, right? And I think that the stuff that we talked about at the beginning of this, where it's like, be at a place where I'm going to look at vendors, have those conversations with me there, set up that relationship there, and then, or have a warm handshake with me through my CISOs or my actual friend group. That's going to get you farther.
Lee, do you agree with that? Anything to add? Because we move on to more questions.
Yeah, every interaction has value, but some interactions are inherently more valuable than others. And so if it's a online type of thing, yeah, there's benefit there. But to Hadass's point, the in-person relationships and interactions are inherently more valuable for me. But yeah, there's value in it, I would say.
All right, I'm going to go to this question from Chris Marquez. When a vendor comes in for the first to present their capabilities, what are some, and I'm sure this is different for every single case, but maybe you can point to some examples. What are some, quote, road signs that you look for in determining if that vendor is a good fit? Lee, jump in. Is there certain things that you're looking for?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, there has to be a need for it, if
right, exactly.
So
I'm sure we've all seen great products. You're like, that's awesome. I don't need it though.
yeah. And that's where the relationship comes in, is understanding the needs. I got a couple of weeks ago, I got a thing in the mail, a flyer for a swimming pool cleaning company, and they come out and they test your water, they clean your pool, and the price is really good. The customer reviews are excellent. The marketing material, the slick was really good. I don't have a swimming pool. So, you have to understand what the person wants, I think, is the first step. I mean, Hadass, do you agree?
Yeah, I think that you're not presenting to me unless there's already signs that this is going to be a valuable relationship. Like, I don't have time to just have open-ended presentations. So the fact that you're in the room with me is a sign. But being able to go with the flow of the conversation, being able to really have depth, like we talked about earlier, within the conversation, and field questions well, so that I feel like you're not just selling me a product, but you're selling me the relationship with the product. That to me is what I'm looking for.
Let me also ask, and this, nobody's asked this question, but I always find this fascinating. Have you ever done a rip and replace? Like, really, like you saw something so amazing, like, we are dumping that for this. Have either of you ever done that?
Yeah.
I would say, yeah. And usually it's when you are going into a new company as a CISO, and there's an opportunity to replace something. That's usually, but at the current company, ripping and replacing it, it's been a while since I've done that.
Yeah, and also, I'm assuming when either contracts come up or your relationship's going sour. If you had a relationship go sour with a vendor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're I'm looking to rip and replace.
Well, and that's the other thing that I do with my vendors, is I don't hide the ball from them. I let them know that they are not meeting my expectations, and I give them an opportunity to change that path to meet my expectations. If it's renewal time, I'm like, great, we're going to renew for a year. You have the opportunity within that year to fix all of the issues that we have. And while you are doing that, I'm doing requirements documents, I'm doing vendor assessments, and I'm going to find out who I can replace you with, because you're not meeting my expectations. But I'm so clear about that with them. And I tell them even who I'm looking at, so that they know who their competitors are, so that they can prove themselves to me. And if they don't want to, or they can't, that's okay. This is not a marriage. It is, it is a vendor relationship, and unless you are constantly rising to the occasion, it's time to move on.
Hadass, I've done that exact same thing that you've done. Renew for a year and tell them that.
Ryan Kate asks, where do you go to learn about emerging tech or tech that does not replace, I would assume what that does or does not replace an existing product solution? So, I mean, are you actively sort of educating yourself in ways, or is it like I think what the two of you just said is I just go to events and teach myself there, kind of there. Is that sounds like the primary way? Is there something else?
That's
I mean,
the
I
problem.
listen to a lot of podcasts also. I mean, I listen to CISO Series podcasts. I listen to other podcasts about security that talk about new solutions that are out to solve old problems or even new problems. There's a lot of places to educate yourself about security. And I love going to B-Sides. I think that's just, it's supporting your local security community. I think that's amazing. And well, I do feel like the larger conferences are a little bit overwhelming for this girl. I do like going to the vendor booths and just kind of wandering, covering my badge, and wandering the booths to just see what's out there. So, yeah, those are some.
I do the I do all of those things, and then also mentioned earlier the the seed investors and the capital venture capitalists, having conversations with them as well. And then the other thing, it doesn't really help you finding new technologies, but it really helps from a vendor relationship is if you have a customer advisory board, you should seek out CISOs to serve on those, because that's a valuable way for them to learn about the industry and what's going on, not just your own company, but what's going on.
And okay, so we have I should mention that we have a call came in.
Hello, welcome to the Department of Yes, where no request is ever rejected.
All right, we got a lot of bad ideas here. I'm going to have you deal with this. So Katie Rowcliffe suggests this. I'm going to start with you. Remember, don't be facetious. So get their kids' names from the Stick family on the back of their car and name drop them during the pitch. Why is that a good idea? Hadass?
Oh, me. I was hoping that was for Lee. It's a good idea because it lets me know that you've really done your research on things that are important to me.
That is true.
And,
That's important. What about you, Lee? You have kids, yes?
I do.
Would you appreciate that approach?
Absolutely, yeah. Especially if they know their ages and their names and where they live, and think details
this
about
sounds
them.
like sarcasm, Lee.
No, it's not. It really does. It dives into the level of research they put into it, and it really inspires me to do more with them.
Well, it also shows that they can do the investigative research that's necessary to do that. I like that. Yes! All right. Good job, Katie. Here, we're from Andrew Aiken. Or actually, wait a second. I may jump on this. This is a good one. Mauricio, I like this. Starting with you, Lee. Promise a luxury trip to the CISO and his family if they meet you, then back off the deal if they do not buy your product. Why should you do this? Why should a vendor do this to you?
Well, they've invested into sending my family and I on this trip, and if I back out of the deal, there's no value in it for them. So I completely understand why they would do that.
Yeah, you understand it. And I mean, what's the point? They don't need to maintain a relationship with you. You've screwed them over.
I've already said no.
Yeah, there we go. Hadass?
I just think that, again, it shows the dedication and hard work of maintaining a good relationship once that relationship is established. So it's really, I wouldn't call it a bait and switch. I would call it a look at what you can get in this relationship if you actually commit to it. And I think that that's amazing.
Bravo! All right. I don't know if we really stayed off this whole being fit. Don't be facetious.
I'm trying hard. I'm really.
It's not easy on this one.
I was serious.
Yeah. So, some really good bad ideas. These are awful. These are truly awful. They're bad. All right, we have a few more. We have 15 minutes left, and I want to get to, we have so many questions that have come in, and these are all awesome, and I greatly appreciate it. Do you think, let's just answer this one quickly. Stephanie Pacheco asks, is a permission-based opening to a pitch more appreciated, or does that feel too long-winded when first calling you? I would assume so, because if you're not asking for permission, you're doing a cold call, and I got to assume, yes, you want permission.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if I accidentally answer the phone when a vendor calls, as soon as I recognize that they're a vendor, I tell them I'm not interested and just hang up.
Yeah.
I just don't have time for that. So yeah, I would much prefer the permission, the warm handshake. It really, it's more, it's that's how you're gonna get my attention.
Can I assume getting an introduction is really like the big thing? Getting an introduction from someone you trust. Yes, Lee.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's more than just a casual, hey, Lee, I see that you and I are both connected to Jane Doe. No, that
means nothing.
Yeah, no.
That means absolutely nothing.
Hey, it does. I work with a lot of your competition in insurance.
This Elon Failer asked this question, and I think this is great. So give us an example of this. You talked about this at the very beginning of the show, Hadass. What is the level of research of understanding your organization that you appreciate and share some examples?
It's a really good question, and it depends on where we are in our relationship. So if we're just having that warm handshake conversation, I want you to understand that, we are an insurance company, that we're distributed. These are things that you can know just by doing basic Google searches about who we are and how we do business. And if you have some relationship with one of the VARs that I do business with, you can even dig a little bit deeper than that and say, okay, I understand that these are some of the issues that you've had recently, and or that these are some of the tools that you have in your environment because of that relationship with the VAR. And that's totally fantastic. We are a Microsoft shop. That's as an example, right? Like, I know that you're a Microsoft shop, and this is how our tool works with Microsoft, etc.
Yeah, there are, by the way, tons of open source tools to find, like if you're on AWS or whatever.
Right.
You're on. Yes.
So knowing even just those basics, I understand what insurance companies in general need, and that you are one. I understand that you are a Microsoft/Azure shop, and this tool does work with that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Once we are further along in the relationship, then you should have been asking enough questions about my environment that I know you're doing your research, but you should also know a lot more about my specific needs and requirements, and how your tool is going to marry with that, and how your tool is going to integrate with the other tools in my environment, which is a huge, I think maybe even unconsidered portion of the vendor relationships. Often is, it's like, oh, we are here just to solve this problem, and there's not really a lot of consideration of, like, how does that play along with the other things in your environment.
But add to this, Lee, what's the kind of opening research you've been impressed by?
Well, there's so much information out there, and it's getting even more so with the SEC disclosure requirements and things like that. I'm waiting for somebody to come back and tell me more about my security program that they read about in the 10K and things like that. It's just there's a lot more information out there. Some of it can be spooky if you throw too much of it out at once, but less is more. I think if you just start with the relationship, and I appreciate that you've done some level of research, but don't overdo it, I think.
Yeah, please don't know the names of my kids.
Yeah.
Which I actually don't have, but
Right.
don't know that anyway.
Yeah.
No, that might be distressing if they do know the names of the kids that you think you don't have. There was an old Carol Leifer joke where she said, "I don't have any kids," and she did the pull of the tie. None that I know of.
Another one would be, hey, you have a package on your front door. I just noticed when I drove by.
All right, let me do this. Let me pause.
Oh, actually, I want to touch base on that. I have had vendors send me pennants from my schools.
Alma mater.
Don't do that. It's not. That, even though it's on LinkedIn, I don't like it. Just, that feels a little.
That's distressing.
Yeah, it feels a little weird. Like, know about my business. Maybe know a little bit about me, but not like that. it didn't get me to pick up the phone.
That is
Really?
kind of creepy. Yeah.
Elon Feller also has this question, and this is the $64,000 question. Best way to follow up post conference, because every conference I go to, everyone talks a good game. Everyone's ready to buy. Everyone's ready to buy. Oh yeah, I'm going to buy that. I'm going to buy you. Nobody can buy from everyone that they have a conversation with. That I do know. So, because if 5% of what happens at a conference actually came through, I'd be rolling in it. So this I know. I've also noticed that this happens. It gets cranked up a little bit more with the excitement in Vegas. Like people get a little bit even more amped. So with RSA coming up, what would be your appreciated ways? Because Lee, I know you're going to be at RSA yourself for follow-up.
Oh, that's a good one. Just knowing that I'm going to get, several hundred
You're going to be one of the
emails
lots.
after the I guess it just the best way is if I give you my work phone and things like that, you can call me. But again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. There's a time and a place for things. Get me out of the office or get me out of the environment in which I'm focused on delivering a cybersecurity program to a company. And but yeah, it's a difficult one. Again, it's about relationships. Just maybe reach out and just say, hey, how was the conference? And that's it. Don't say, when can we meet again? It's just have a conversation and then just back off, and then have another one. And then
Let me ask you, because I've done this. Tell me if you appreciate this or don't appreciate it. Say we meet for the very first time at the event, and you seem very genuinely excited about my product. Is it okay, appropriate for us then and there, say, pull out your calendar. Let's set up a meeting after the show. Is that cool? Yes, Adas? Lee?
For me, 100%.
Yeah, that would be good for me.
Especially if I'm genuinely and also if I'm only pretending to be genuinely interested in your product and you pull out a calendar, I'll say, actually, let me think about
was
this
lying.
and get back to me. But I will also say, again, I am super duper honest with my vendors because I don't want to waste your time any more than I want my time wasted. And so if there should be follow up from the conference, you will get it. You will definitely get it from me. If you follow up after a conference and I'm like, hey, I thought your product was really cool, but we're not interested right now. I will also almost always be like, you can follow up with me in this quarter and give you a quarter to follow up with me.
All right, I'm going to give everyone 2 minutes to click the link at the very bottom of the screen, because we are going to change that in 2 minutes, and I'm going to wrap the show up in just a couple of minutes. And I'm actually going to ask you for sort of final comments, because we are going to also go to our meetup too. So do me a favor, everyone click the link at the bottom of the screen. Please register for next week's event, because we're going to be talking about hacking customer trust, very much in line with what we're talking about right now as well. So please click on that. It won't take you out of this. Let me ask you, let's go to one more question here, and then I'm going to do the wrap up here. Let me find a good quick one. So actually Sergio asked the same question here. And Katie, Kato, that's the same question, Katie. This is a good one. This is interesting from James Sparenberg, because there is the full pitch, the full let's sit down pitch, and the casual conversation. I mean, we're talking about different degrees here. So James asks, how do you handle doing discovery on, ooh, this looks interesting, I'd like to learn more, without getting hooked into a full sales routine from the vendor? Because one of my major frustrations is you go on a website and says, click here to book a demo. And that's why we created this, our other show, which is Capture the CISO, which CISO season 2 is coming up in just a couple of weeks. So how do you handle that, Lee? I want to learn more, but I'm not ready to make the commitment of let's going on the first date.
How do I handle it, or how does
how do you handle it?
Oh, how do I?
Or how would you how do you handle it with them, and how should they handle it? To make them feel good about being rejected. That's the other thing. I think it's always important as a vendor that you make the prospect feel good about rejecting you. That I think is critical. So how do you handle, and how would you want the vendor to handle it with you?
Oh, that's a good. It's a lot like dating, isn't it? The more that I think about this, not too much information all at once. How do you? Gosh, I don't know. I actually like the idea of hey, that sounds like an interesting idea. Let's have another conversation, not a full-fledged pitch, but just, or even right then, what are you doing to address this issue in the industry and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
I would love to have like an informal conversation. Again, I'm not in the office, I'm out of the office, and I'd be willing to talk about that. I don't need a conference room with 15 people
So
with suits on and, can we take you to lunch? And, no, let's have a conversation. I like that idea, actually.
Hadass, how do you handle this? This sort of that in-between space.
Yeah, I again just set really clear parameters with the person I'm having the conversation with about where my interest lies and where my level is, and I will very clearly elucidate that yes, I am interested in this product. I need to know more about it before I know how interested I am, and these are the questions I have about it and about my environment that I'm willing to tell you in order to get to that next level. But I know I've said it a million times and I can't stress it enough. Just like dating, if you're 100% honest with the person, what you're looking for in that date, in that relationship, without being creepy, then we figure out within the first couple of dates whether this is going to be a long-term relationship or not, and then can move on if it isn't, or can start moving towards integration if it is.
Good point. All right. Hey, stand tight right there. We're going to come right back. Everyone, if you have not clicked the link at the bottom of the screen, do it right now because it's going to change in just a moment. Hey, starting soon in about 100 minutes from now. Am I doing my math right now? 11? Yeah, 12, yes. 100 minutes from now. We're a little less. We're going to be doing Cybersecurity Headlines Week in Review with Steve Gentry, who's an advisor over at Clarion. Guess what? I'll be hosting. Rich Stroffolino is not feeling 100%, so I'm stepping in for Rich, and I'll be hosting the show. So please join us for that. That happens over on YouTube, where we do the show. So if you go to youtube.com/CISO series, you'll find it. Or just go to our site for the event. You can click on it there. We have a live chat there. We incorporate you as part of the show. So please join us. Stick around for the meetup. Now you can change the link at the bottom of the screen. If you've never come to one of our meetups, I want to see you there. And correct me if I'm wrong, Hadass, Lee, you'll both be there? Yes?
Yes, absolutely.
We will both be there answering more of your questions. I'm sure they can answer more of your questions there. Now, I did mention, if you want to sponsor Super Cyber Friday, email me at david@cisoseries.com. If you did not get a chance to click the link when I reminded you a couple of times to do that, you can always go to cisoseries.com, go to our event, and actually it'll be updated on our front page, and you can register that way as well. All right. With that being said, is that my last slide? That's my last slide there. Okay. Let's go. I think we have just 2 minutes. All right. Then I'm going to throw this to both of you, Hadass, Lee. Hadass, close with, if vendors could start doing this, I think everyone would all be a lot happier. And the answer to that is?
Wow. Doing that warm handshake, and going through, I don't know how else to say that. Just do that warm handshake. That would make things a lot better.
Okay. Lee?
I would say it's in the same vein as what Hadass was saying. It is transition from a transactional state of mind, how can I close the sale, to wow, I really want to build a relationship with this company and with this person, and a sale will come. It may not come right away, but it'll come. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to worry about the relationships. I would say, and it's tough for all of you. I know that because you're measured and you're incentivized to be transactional. So all I can say is that maybe the ultimate transaction will be greater if you invest that time in the relationship rather than looking for quick little.
I couldn't agree more. And by the way, and I've said this umpteen times before, the problem starts at how salespeople are measured. And it's all of this is trickled down as a result of that. Yeah. If you can figure a new way to measure salespeople that isn't meetings and sales, which is kind of how you run a business, sadly, and I do not have the answer to this, but if there's a new way to measure salespeople's performance, that they are moving in the right direction, everyone would be happier. But I do not know what the answer to that is, sadly.
Yeah, it is a problem.
It is a conundrum, honestly. because they do need to sell ultimately.
They need to sell. That's their job. I get it.
To ABC, right? Always be closing.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's hard.
All right. I want to thank you. We are at the end of the show. I want to thank Hadass and I want to thank Lee for being absolutely awesome. Friends of the show. We were just discussing this earlier. Friends of the show, both Lee and Hadass. Thank you so much, everyone. Click the link at the bottom of the screen. Please join us over at it's a different platform. It's called Toucan. You can have conversations. If you've never been there before, join us. You'll have fun. I promise. It'll all make sense the second you're in there. Huge thanks to our producers, Andrew, Rich, and Aaron. All did an awesome job. Aaron, take us out.